Okay, great. So, we need to, elect an acting chair.
Can we call it to order first?
Yes, so, I'll call it to order and it is 10. Not yet. Okay, so I'm just gonna call the meeting to order at 10:40. And the first thing to do is to seat alternates, and I would like to move that Ginger Betty be seated for Dave Wilburn, who's absent.
Second.
Haven't you done? Yeah, so I'm just temporarily, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Carol. And no abstentions, okay.
I'm not being heard, whether I'm being heard on my phone or on my computer, so you can hear me?
Hear you.
Okay, as long as you're not getting double sound. Okay.
So you need to log out of one, Carol.
Okay, that's what I'm gonna, I'm gonna leave this meeting. Let's see what happens. I'm leaving my computer, hopefully. Is that okay? Am I still there?
Yeah, you are.
Thank you,
Okay.
Carol.
Okay.
I nominate Amy Wynn to be temporary chair for this meeting. Second.
All in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, our first thing is to discuss, and our only thing is to discuss and consider the mill rate for the fiscal year 24-25. And we now have an approved spending plan for the total for the municipal and the Board of Ed. And now we need to figure out how to meet the shortfall. We have, of course, an updated version of our anticipated general fund from Michelle. So, Michelle let us know that, did I leave this in the intern? Nope, there it is. Michelle let us know that there is $31,900 or $338,322,000 that was not projected or expected. This is due to a penalty for sale of forest land. This sale will also bring in $9,375 in conveyance taxes. So that's another approximately 48.5 that is added to the projected general. In addition, I was speaking to Michelle prior to this meeting. She did say that we do anticipate another allotment. I don't know the exact amount. I think she said approximately 40,000 to be returned to the general fund from the Regional Board of Education for unspent funds. So that's brings our projected.
I believe that was to be applied.
The Regional Board of
Yes.
Education is a credit, so it was never taken.
Correct.
The general.
Right.
Don't actually get money again, it was just there.
It's just a credit.
A credit. Thank you so much.
Right.
So that brings the projected general fund, to the best of my knowledge, to approximately $951,000, give or take.
How do you get 951?
We have our projected general fund of
97,283.84.
right. And what do you have? 900,000. And then I had it separately. I'll have to look it up. So maybe it's closer to
It's just, I think the
My
only
number.
addition I think would be proceeds from the penalty and the taxes from the sale. So 897 plus the 45 or so.
let's see. I had 879.
I think maybe you were adding in what we were just advised was not new cash, but was
Right.
the amount left over from the BOF
Was a
budget.
credit.
Yeah, well, it's a credit. So, well, I had 879 plus the 40 plus the 31.9. So anyway. We have. So what is the number that you're saying it should really be?
Well, we're starting with 897. That's Michelle's report, and we're adding to that the taxes and the penalty from the Music Mountain sale.
Mhm.
And that added up to what, 48, 45? What was that?
47.
47. So that brings us up to 944.
Plus we have a credit.
No.
But that
We
doesn't-
can't apply
that's
that.
not reflected.
Okay,
So
so that's 944.
944.
Okay, so up by a bit. So. We have 352,000 roughly that we're short. I'm gonna throw out a concept that with our very healthy financial condition, in my opinion, of this town, with good healthy cash reserves, very low debt, and very prudent spenders, that we at the very least subsidize the shortfall by at least 200,000 from the general fund. That would mean that the mill rate would go up by 0.6%. My preference would that the mill rate would not go up at all. But, and so that would require more of a contribution from the general fund. And the general fund at 12.5% needs to be around 750,000. So you're close at 200.
Can I just make one point?
Yeah.
Your general fund projection is including 100%
Yes,
collection, no, wait a minute, of this year's taxes,
Yeah.
and we've been advised that that's not going to happen. And on Michelle's,
we have.
yes, and on Michelle's most recent general projection, I think you're shy 47,000, right? So we're not gonna collect 100%, so you're really at 900,000, added 47, you took out
Right.
47.
So in my approach would put in the 100% collection rate because
So I don't mean for next year, I mean, I'm talking about the general fund projection for this
Oh.
current year. Michelle has said we're not gonna get 47,000.
but you're saying that I'm projecting,
You're including it in your general fund number.
So wait, hold on, just make sure we're clear. You're saying the 897 is 100, is if we get 100%.
Yes. But Michelle's projecting we're not going to.
So we have two adjustments tonight. Michelle's telling us 897, and that's understated by the amount that we raised from the Music Mountain sale. It's overstated by the taxes that we're not gonna collect, which are in the next 47 or so. So the projected general fund is gonna end up being the general fund, assuming the 897 number that we're starting with is correct. It's gonna be around 900, very close to
Right.
900. So that's what we have to work with. And, our job is to set the mill rate, and we have two places to pay for it from. The general fund and an increase in taxes.
Right.
So just to put that in focus. And what might help is I asked Denise to get some computations on a piece of paper that lays this out. I think it'll assist in our discussion rather than just people throwing numbers out.
do this on your own time.
Oh, yeah,
That's wonderful.
I
Thank
love
you.
Excel. It's my favorite tool. But tell me this, though. I mean, I have several different ones. What has the Board of Finance decided to use as a collection rate? Because you started at 98.
Right.
Our average collection rate over 5 years is 98.76.
Right.
So do you want to use 99, 98.5, or 98? Because I have a separate chart for each
Well,
one.
I'm traditionally, we have put in 100 because of prior year's taxes being collected. And so I'm saying you might as well put in 100.
399.
What's our average rate been?
98.76 over 5 years.
98.6?
98.76.
0.6. we're talking about small differences, I would use 98.5 or 99.
I'd use 99 at least.
Okay, so here's 99.
Currently, we're at 99.1.
And that does take into account previous taxes.
So,
Now, these, just as clarification, these are just worksheets.
oh yeah.
Okay.
Reference point.
So just to describe them, what. In each section, you can see which the mill rate is. And then let's take the 21. You're gonna be, the shortfall is 402,000,
Denise, which one are you looking at? 99%?
99.
Okay.
And so if you took that out of the general fund, you'd be down to 497,000. Carol's the 99% one. So if you go to the next one, 21.1, these are intents. That it shows you what would be left in the general fund and it includes the increase in the taxes. So if you wanted to keep it, what did you say, Amy, 750,000 in the general fund?
Yeah, 200,000 from the general.
You have to go all the way to 22.1, pretty close.
I'm not following you on the sheets.
Go over 24.1.
Yes, 22 point.
And that leaves a balance in the general fund of 758. And it's a mill increase of 1.1.
You know what might help, Denise, if I can suggest this, let's just, so everybody's got a full understanding of the numbers. Let's just go through one case. The cases are different only in one small arithmetical sense. So up at the top on the left, we've got the spending plans we just approved, 5.999, so $6 million, right? The $608,000 is the best information we have from Michelle on what we're going to get, other than tax revenue. And we have in this calculation $900,000 in the general fund. That's the number we just worked through. 897 plus a little bit, minus a little bit. So we've got that $900,000 at our disposal to the extent we want to spend it to help cover the budget, and the rest is going to have to come out of taxes. So if you take the first case below that, actually take the second one, because the first case shows no increase in the mill rate at all. So 21.1 mils, that's the second case. Based on what we know of the grand list, it's going to raise 5.012 in taxes. We have the other revenue of 608. That's a total of 5,620. Our spending 5,999. So our shortfall in that case is $378,000. That would have to come out of the general fund. That would leave the number right beside it, 521,000 in the general fund. And the constraint that we've been operating under is that there's some percentage of the general fund that we want to preserve. The Conference on Municipalities says keep it between 10 and 15. The auditors say keep it between, I forget if they said 10 to 15 or 12 to 15. They also caution that for a small town like ours, it's wise to err being on the higher side. So a couple of meetings ago, we resolved, not to say that we can't change our minds, so we resolved by the board not to go below 12.5%. So if we adhered to that, and we adopted a mill rate of 21.1, we would have only 8.69% of our annual budget left in the general fund, far less than what we wanted it to be. So if you turn ahead and look at these percentages that leave 12.5% of our annual budget in the general fund, you're on the last page, and you're somewhere between a 22 and a 22.1 mill rate. 22 leaves 12.25%. 22.1 leaves 12.65. So that's just the starting point for discussion. If we want to keep 12.5%, we're looking at a 22 or 22.1 mill rate increase.
Thank you. So
Do
that
we have-
is the, Carol,
Excuse me, do we have to keep the 12% because we made a motion at the meeting and we can't go back on the motion?
We can
No.
make a new motion. It's not a big deal.
We
I don't-
can change.
Special meeting, can we do that in a special meeting?
we can decide on the mill rate at this special meeting.
No, what I'm saying is the general fund, we made a motion to keep it at 12.5%. So we
Can-
can't go below that unless
Well,
we make a
Can
motion.
can we amend that at a future meeting?
Just.
Yes, but we can't we can't go below it as far as setting the mill rate is concerned for today.
We would just be going against our motion and we would have to amend it.
Right.
You have to live by rules. We're here, we have one item on the agenda and it's to set the mill rate. So if we're locked into, I didn't realize this until just now, that because this is a special meeting, we can't
Right.
change it. Policy. If we're locked into that,
Mhm.
then, I wouldn't have changed the policy anyway, because I think it's a wise policy. But that's beside the point now, because we're locked into it. So that means, and I want to go into one other thing. Let's just suppose that, if we could reconsider it, we continue to adhere to the policy that we want to keep, a general fund equal to 12.5% of our annual budget. People come to us all the time. They did this year and they come up with an expense that they didn't anticipate and we can give them $20,000 of relief. So ideal, from my point of view, what we ought to have left in the general fund is 12.5% of the annual budget plus another $20,000.
I don't agree.
Well, you don't have to agree. I'm just trying to explain it now. So exactly 12.5% would be someplace between a 22 and a 22.1 mill rate. We'd probably be pretty close to having the $20,000 cushion if we set the mill rate at 22.1. So that's what seems attractive to me. So that's my position.
Any other thoughts? I feel, that was the one meeting I was not present at, the 12.5%. Wish I had been present. One meeting I missed, because I do feel that that is overly conservative for a town that's very healthy. And I think that the auditors are in their rights to be very conservative in their advice. Nevertheless, we evidently, because of that motion, have no choice but to be 12.5%. I think that that's the $20,000 that you're proposing, David, is well-intentioned, but I think it's just going to add to the burden. And I think the burden is already heavy enough. I think that 12.5% is going to have us raise the mill rate, and our general fund and our general finances are very healthy. I don't think we're going to have problems finding the 20,000. We can do that anyway. We don't need to add it to the mill rate and the burden of the taxpayers. I think the 12.5% is already a burden on the taxpayers. I would have preferred to have, 11, in the area of 11% for myself, for the general fund, because I have a lot of faith in this town. And I am finding that the way we look at the expense and the revenues have two completely different philosophies. There's the what if philosophy on the revenue side, but there is no what if philosophy on the spending side. It's, well, you didn't spend it before, so you're not going to need it. And in the revenue side, well, you didn't earn it before, so you can't, we use two different philosophies for the budget, and it just doesn't jive. But we have what we have. And so, I'd entertain a motion if anybody has one.
Does anybody else have any thoughts on this?
Right.
I have a question. They sound really off the wall as far as the question is concerned, and I'm going to go to Amy's concern. Do we, number one, have to make a decision on the mill rate today? Can we call,
Yes.
wait, finish my question, please. Can we postpone this meeting or end the meeting with no decision? Call for another special meeting to vote on lifting that particular motion that we made, and then convening a meeting to, yeah, I know it sounds complicated, but if we only need 24 hours notice for a special meeting, we can table this meeting, or however we want to end this meeting with no decision, call for a special meeting to address Amy's concerns, and make a motion to either hold the 12.5% or lower it, and then call for a special meeting and put on that agenda to discuss the mill rate. Because I think the problem and the hang up here right now, and with all due respect, the 12.5%, whether I agree with it or don't agree with it, is a bone of contention right now and does put a tremendous burden on the taxpayers. So I don't know if that's an option we have to not come to a decision today, call for another special meeting within 24 hours, and put those two things on, check, reverse the motion or make another motion, and then call for the mill rate. It's only another couple of more days. That's my thought process, if my question doesn't sound too far off the wall, but I do.
Thank you very much, Carol. I really appreciate your creative problem solving, though. And I have to defer to Dave.
If I may, we are now running into that territory. It's June 1 already, where we might be facing having our tax collector send out supplementaries. Okay, which again will cost us a little bit more money. So again, I don't want to tie anyone's hands here.
How soon could we get a special meeting? It's for question.
I would still say it would be my thought that, as has been customary over the years, you settle on the mill rate now during
Well,
this
I think
meeting.
that sounds all well and good, but it's to call a special meeting. If we end this meeting today, we can make a motion to call a special meeting for Tuesday, the 4th. We're talking, it's Saturday, all right? So it's not like anything's going to get done tomorrow. So we call for the special meeting for Tuesday, because that gives us 24 hours to post the agenda for both of those points. And then we can make a decision. One more day or 2 more days at this point isn't going to make a difference, I don't feel, but I could be wrong on that. And I do welcome any comment, but I just think that to rush the mill rate and put that mill rate out there when there's a number of board members are not comfortable, we need to
Well,
have that.
actually, Carol, we have the tax collector here. Rebecca.
So once you set the mill rate, it's a twofold process that involves the assessor and then myself, to go down the billing and cycling, prepping the files, it's a software issue. If you guys could meet Tuesday morning, then it allows Kayla the ability to finish her stuff so that she needs to get her stuff done by this week.
So Tuesday morning's the latest. Thank you, Rebecca.
Very helpful. I mean,
So
Okay.
Thank I misspoke. I thought we were into dangerous territory here.
You have
we're not.
You're not, because nothing's going to happen tomorrow. It's Sunday, so you're only talking 2 more days. And I think it's important that we be totally transparent with our thoughts on this. We have an obligation to the taxpayer. Doesn't mean I'm going to go one way or the other, but I do feel we have an obligation to the taxpayer to do our due diligence. And if we have people that are not comfortable with that number right now, I don't see where 2 more days is going to make a difference. That's pretty sad if 2 more days is going to make a difference in a major decision like this.
Thank you so much, Carol. So Carol is making a suggestion that we convene on Tuesday morning to do so. David,
John.
I'm sorry.
I think we're allowing the process to get ahead of the substance. We adopted this policy, it was only about 2 or 3 months ago. It was unanimous. There was no judgment by anybody that was evidence there that evinced any uncertainty, any unease with it. And of course, if we adhere to it and don't allow the general fund to drop to 11 or 10 or whatever, then it's going to have an effect on the mill rate. So I think before we start wondering whether we can have a special meeting on Tuesday, we should get a sense of whether there's been much change of heart on this issue.
Yes.
So far, I'm hearing it from only one person. Maybe there's others, but I would adhere to the 12.5%. The auditors know what they're doing. They have these policies for a reason. The Conference on Municipalities, same thing. They have experience. They have these policies for a reasoning. And I haven't heard any reason other than what the effect will be on the mill rate to revisit the policies. And I want to address a point that Amy made. The pressure is coming from two places, not just one. One is the willingness we have to use the general fund. The other is the spending. So if our spending wasn't so high, we wouldn't have to invade the general fund as much. So it's all part of a calculus, and to isolate one piece to the exclusion of the other is not going to be a good process. So I think we just ought to revisit and see if there's anybody here who's now opposed to the 12.5%.
Can I,
I think that's a good idea. I just
point of
want to,
order, point of order to Chairman? Can we ask the secretary to go back in the minutes and find the actual percentage, and make sure we're not just remembering it? I believe it is 12.5.
Yeah.
But we're
Yeah,
making a,
12.5
making a
also.
serious,
Yes.
I want to make sure that we see that in the minutes if she has it available.
and while you're looking, I did look at previous years from 2019 to 23. And the general fund percentage as a percentage of the general fund expenditures ranged from 10.10 in 19 to 8.10 in 2020, 14% in 21, 15 in 22, and 12 in 2023. And in each of those years, the mill rate was, to the best of my knowledge, to have a mill rate at a certain level, the general fund was used to subsidize along with taxes each year. It's a part of the formula generally used. It's, we will not live within our means in this shape or form. And it's my personal opinion for another meeting that I'd love to have on the agenda, which is, I think we need to be looking strategically several years, not 1 year. Or else we're doing the same thing
100%.
every year. And we're not being strategic in our decisions, because you may spend in 1 year, but not see the payback and in the investment in that spending for years to, a few years to come. Same with revenue. You may work to increase revenue in certain areas, which I think we need to be looking at in a strategic way. But that takes time. It's not instant. Oh, we're going to sell a property next year. It's got to be more strategic than that. But back to what John was saying, I think it is very important not to set a special meeting if hearts have not changed. And so if we can just go around the table, John has said he sticks with 12.5. Steve?
12.5.
I'm in the 12.
Yeah, 12.5.
Yeah, I think I was in the lower end of it, but I agreed to 12.5. If it was, I agreed to the number that we all agreed to, but I was leaning lower at that point, I thought, but 12.5 I can live with.
And Carol?
I'm with the 12.5 too. It is what we went with. I just wanted to give everybody the option of,
Don't need a special meeting.
Assuming it is 12.5. That's my only point is that
Amy, you said you were not there. I mean, do you remember what the date was?
I was the one, there was just one meeting that I missed. I'm sorry.
February,
Like-
March?
No,
no,
it was
recent. That was like.
April, May, April, I think.
Yeah, it was within 2 months.
Yeah, I was traveling. It was middle of April.
And it was
No.
a special meeting.
think
It
that I
was a
could-
special-
Special meeting.
Any of Carol? Carol?
I think the meeting was like the Monday, the 8th.
It was the day I was traveling, so it would have been the 15th.
John Stein has made a motion that it be a policy of the Board of Finance to not use the general fund for budget relief in an amount that would reduce the general fund balance below 12.5%
There you
of
go.
the combined annual expenditure.
Was that on the agenda?
Okay,
For that meeting? Oh, yeah,
yeah,
It was on the agenda.
general fund balance.
It was on the, so, okay.
it was in the
Because
minutes.
we did make a motion in that meeting.
We did.
So let's set the bill rate. We don't have choices now, unfortunately. I feel like
Can I
sometimes.
just make one comment on your 21, on your 22 mil? I know it's not quite 12.5%, but you don't have to use 5,226,095 as the revenue received. You can,
What are you looking at, Denise?
The top have page 3.
yeah, it doesn't eliminate the ability to raise the tax by just 99. That's at 99. You don't have to use 99. You can say you're gonna get an extra, whatever it is, 50,000 And
to leave it at a mill rate
At
increase
15,000,
It's 20.
one, yes.
This would require a contribution from the general fund of approximately $165,000.
Yes.
Do I have a motion from anybody who's interested in that? No?
Just run that one time.
That says 12.25 now.
Yes, and Denise is saying, actually Denise, since you have the 100% sheet,
We're gonna keep the 12 and a half.
What you could
in
do
general
is you
fund
could
and
just-
pull somewhere else.
You could just say that the revenue
It's higher.
is gonna be $15,000 higher, and that brings that up to
That brings-
750.
So instead of the
Saying
collection
99%,
rate, we
yeah.
thought we were sort of basing it on, we assume it'll be a little higher, it offsets the general fund deduction.
That's assuming.
Again,
no, it's just to get a mill rate.
Projection.
No, I agree.
We're talking
That's
about the
right.
difference between 22 and 22.1.
Yeah.
where it's-
As a-
it's
as a-
marginal.
So mill-
Exactly.
mill increase.
as a point from me, I was in, we would not be in favor of raising the mill rate more than one point anyway.
No,
That was the maximum I would be willing to go.
that was the way
22 is
that I
better.
was looking for anyway.
Great.
That's what I was gonna.
Less would be
So
better,
can
but
I have a motion?
I moved to set the mill rate at 22
I'll second
for
that.
the upcoming year.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Just-
Sorry.
well,
Is there a discussion?
Yeah,
Sorry.
just-
John.
I'm gonna
John's-
vote for it, but I wanna, just make one observation. You talked about strategy, looking forward. I think too little of that has been done, and here's the big picture before us. We have about $900,000. We're about to adopt the mill rate, I think. It's gonna leave about 735 of that. Roughly. We have a structural deficit. If you look at the front page of this summary that Denise prepared, we have a structural deficit, meaning if we don't increase the mill rate, we're $400,000 behind.
Unless,
So what's gonna happen in the future? Inflation is gonna go up,
Spending goes up.
budget is gonna go up. Unless we raise taxes, the structural deficit is gonna go up. And we have a finite amount of dollars to assist taxpayers in meeting our spending needs. It is the general fund, and it's gonna be invaded year after year after year. So the reason that, so in other words, that's gonna keep going down if we start each year with a structural deficit of something in the neighborhood of $400,000. The practice, I think, has been, because we've had the good fortune over the last 3 or 4 years to have alternative sources of money. ARPA, we sold the water company, all those rainbows are gonna run out. And eventually, we're gonna hit the point where we have to pay currently for our spending needs, which is why I think it is so important, given everybody in town's complaints about all the capital needs we have, bridges, culverts, the whole thing. We're gonna have spending plans or spending needs. People are gonna talk about solar farms, they're gonna wanna talk about affordable housing. The general fund is basically all we have left, and we're gonna keep cutting into it. So the strategy is to try to keep it at a level where we're not gonna have to raise taxes dramatically if we have a need for spending. So I think we're doing a smart thing.
and I
As-
just
as
would
a-
like to add to that is that it is not the only thing that we have. I do want to mention that. We do have the ability to borrow. We have very low debt right now. So should we want to make an investment in solar or something? The other
Right.
thing I do want to make a point of is that, and then we'll go to Tom and then Carol, is that I feel the 22 mil is a step in the strategic direction. Because although it is not increasing the general fund substantially, it is hopefully attracting, helping to attract residents and others to this town. So it's not always about revenue, it's also about the big picture, which is why I also feel we need to be really looking not 1 year at a time. And then Tom, and then Carol.
I was gonna say that there may be ways that if we get creative, especially with some of the POCD work here, we might be creative in trying to increase revenue without increasing taxation. Other revenue streams potentially, new homes being built, et cetera. I think and if we look at things 3 to 5 years out, try to figure out how we layer the Board of Finance's concerns and thoughts with some of the strategy of the town and some other things, we sort of come together and get that kind of layered together. Maybe we find ways to increase the revenue stream without having it be a mill rate increase every year. And like I said in the previous meeting, this is the easy year. Next year, I would think it gets harder if we're not being proactive and trying these things out. So that's it for me.
Carol, you had a thought?
No, I'm good, thank you.
I have,
Steve?
I can try to get
Jump
out
in.
there. I think what we're forgetting about is we had a large decrease in the mill rate last year.
Very large.
If we had not done that, you may not be seeing the 1 mill increase. I believe in the future, rather than jumping into the feel-good measure of making everybody happy, we're gonna have to think about it a little closer.
Imagine if we hadn't reduced it that much, and yet reducing it that much with the reval, everyone's taxes went up anyway.
Yeah.
So imagine if we hadn't reduced it that much.
Thank you, Amy.
It would have been painful for a lot of people.
It was very painful, even at 21. So I don't regret going down to 21. I feel we were more competitive as a town, and I don't think we hurt ourselves financially. I still feel that I think we're all in agreement that we can't do it this way every year. It's just not the formula. It just isn't going to work.
No.
And so let's be creative and proactive and use our plan of conservation and development as a possible model for goals, for increasing revenue, attracting what we need to do that, But anyway, we have a motion on the table. Any other thoughts? Thank you for starting the conversation, John.
I agree with Steve. I think that's exactly where we have to made such a decrease. It's gotta go, unfortunately, up.
We're going up. I mean, that's the motion.
I think,
I mean, did you want to propose a different?
no.
No, right.
No, I think we're right.
I
Okay,
think
so
we need to amend the motion to include and assign 150,000 to be assigned to what for next year, right?
say,
You have to say you're taking 150,000 from the general fund and it's assigned to next year's fiscal. Right, Dave?
actually, we're doing the mill rate first. We're gonna
Part of the motion.
We have to put-
But you can't add another motion.
I think we only have a mill rate on the agenda though, right?
As part of you have to amend the motion that Tom made.
So what she's
To
suggesting is that
include-
it's not all coming from the
Why
general
not
fund.
Wasn't the motion made and seconded for the
Right, so we have to
But-
vote on the mill rate.
No,
No, a motion can be amended before vote.
Yes, correct.
So it can be amended, but I'm trying to understand exactly what.
State your motion.
All I had said for a motion was, my motion was I moved to increase the mill rate to 22 for the upcoming budget year.
Okay, so could.
Saying, but
like
we,
to-
in the motion, we have to say removing the 100 or taking 150 from the general fund as well as raising the mill rate.
150.
Before I amend my motion, I'm trying to understand what Denise is asking, so.
Yeah.
can you-
the Board
can
of
you
Finance
clarify?
has to assign the amount of the general fund that cannot be used for anything other than next year's municipal budget, right, Dave?
Right.
Shouldn't that be part of this motion because they came to the 22 with, they can't do one because it's not on the agenda. It can be part of this motion.
Let me ask you a question, Denise. Go ahead, Dave.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, John. I'm trying to remember how it was done in the past, so forgive me, but I think we have to act on this motion first, that is a 22%, 22
Mill rate.
mill rate. Okay. And then I believe we have to go to another motion to take out that.
Can't.
We can't create,
We
I don't believe we can.
Have to put it at another meeting. We don't amend the motion.
Okay, so point of order here, point of order, quick. Yeah.
Tom,
Okay, let's make it all in one motion.
All right, point of order.
Okay.
There's two options here, right? One is that I amend this motion to include that numeric value.
Right, okay,
Or secondly, can it be done such that we set the mill rate this meeting, and the next regular meeting, we then can say what percentage of the general fund is used?
I think it should be, but I can't say that you can't do
okay.
that.
No, I think let's,
I took the minutes to the Board of Finance. It was all inclusive in one.
okay, let's do it all in one motion then. 50,000 taken out of it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Before we do anything, I'd just like to understand this. So I'm looking at the 99% collection rate chart she put together. And at a 22 mil rate, we would be using 164,887 of the, we'd be setting aside that much of the general funds for the budget. But did I hear you say 150,000?
The reason I'm saying that is because you have the motion made that you can't go under 750, right?
750.
Under,
No,
under
12.5%.
Well, that is of 750 of 6 million.
Right, that's the
So what I'm
12%.
saying is to make that work with your 750, 12.5%. That's 150,000 from the projected general fund balance of 900,000 that you're all using, right? So it's okay that the calculation doesn't work. What we're just gonna say is that the projected tax revenue is $5,241,095.
just help me out a little bit on this though. How did you arrive at the 150?
900 minus 150.
And I think we have to be, I
750.
think we have to be a little more exact on
Nine,
that.
900?
900 minus 150 is that's.
The projected collection
Right,
rate.
so we have 900 in the projected general fund.
Yep.
And we want to have 750 left. That's a ballpark, pretty close ballpark of 12.5% of our spending.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're authorizing use of up to $150,000.
No, you
The
have to
general
have. Yeah, right.
authorizing use of up to $150,000 of the general fund for the 24-25 budget.
Mhm.
So all we have to do procedurally, Tom, if you want to be the one to make the motion, is to fold that into the motion to adopt the 22 mil rate.
But somebody has to do.
We have to amend the motion, has to be seconded, we have to vote on the amendment, and then we go back to voting on the main motion.
Right.
So,
Okay.
so I will amend my initial motion. I move that the original motion includes using up to $150,000, authorizing to $150,000 out of the general fund. As part of that 22 mil, or that 1 mil increase to 22.
To 150,000 of general fund for the purpose of meeting 2024-25
Municipal expenses.
I'll second the motion.
All right, so
Thank
that's
you,
been
Carol.
amended.
Carol
Second.
seconded it.
Seconded, okay.
All in favor? Aye.
The
Okay,
amendment passes.
the amendment passes. Now,
So further discussion on the first motion.
yeah, is there further discussion? No? So all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion
Carol?
passes.
I said
Carol?
aye.
All right, we're done.
We're just not very confident for the numbers. Something for the general fund allocation.
If we want to motion to adjourn.
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So
Second.
John seconded, motion to adjourn, Denise, first, second by John, all in favor, aye.
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 Okay, we're done.